Hi, I'm Neha Cadabam. Welcome to Mind Talk Inside Young Minds. Here we explore the emotional world of children and young adults in today's world. From school stress and friendships to digital pressures and self-discovery, we'll unpack it all, one conversation at a time, with experts, parents, and young voices who remind us that mental health is everyone's story. Today we have with us a very special guest, Ms. Anupa Gnanakan, Director at ACTS Group of Institutions and who has been an educator for more than 25 years, making a difference in the life of young children for many, many years now. She's also been a special educator and an early childhood educator. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Neha. I'm so happy to be here.
Lovely. Thank you. So tell me, Anupa, I think probably it might be a right question to start off with. I've always heard of you talking about your father who's been an educator, and how has his journey as an educator inspired you, and how has that inspired you as your journey to be an educator?
So my dad was a very, very special guy. I wish you could have met him. Very vivacious, full of energy, and he was always full of ideas and doing exciting things. And I saw him being a teacher himself, and it was something that inspired me. And actually, it was at a point where to be honest, I wasn't a very good student myself. And when I was wondering, what can I do in life? That's when he said that, teaching is something that's a wonderful thing to do. I also saw his own sister was a teacher.
Oh, lovely.
His grandfather was an English professor in Dharwad. So it has just run in the family, and it was just the most natural thing to do. So he was an inspiration, yes. Wow. And he totally backed me up when I said I wanted to be a teacher, whatever it was, even though I did a Montessori course, and he was so supportive. And he was the only one in those days that actually knew about Maria Montessori. And it was just something wonderful, and I'm so glad that I took it up.
How nice. Wonderful. So I think then teaching sort of comes naturally to you, coming from a family of educators.
Yes.
Lovely. So you also told me you were not such a good student.
Yeah, I very proudly say that.
I think that's very important sometimes, for people to know that you don't have to be good right from the beginning, but it's beautiful of how your journey sort of takes you. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it sort of changed?
Yeah, so I don't know if I couldn't learn naturally or if I was just bored. But, in those days, school was really boring. And I was into sports and music at the time. And when I was growing up, apart from in my family, they were supportive about everything that I did. But in school, it was all about academics. Right. You have to top the class, or you have to at least get, achieve this score. And the more they told me that I had to do it, the more I didn't want to do it. You didn't want to do it. Yeah. So that's why when I look back, I don't know whether it was, did I have a problem, or was I just rebelling, or was it a sport? I don't know. But I somehow got through school. And again, it was my dad who was absolutely fine with, me failing classes.
Amazing.
And my mom and dad would always say, don't worry, baby girl, there's always the next time. So, there was no pressure. There was pressure in school, but there was no pressure at home. And I somehow managed to, I didn't do very well in my 10th standard, but I managed to pass after failing everything. Wow. And when I look back, I just see that, it's not so important to actually get all those high scores. And it's more about the experiences that you have in school.
Right.
And I didn't have a very good experience because, the teachers were not supportive of me. So when I mention all this, the students in the schools that I work with now, they say, but how can you be a director of schools now when you yourself didn't enjoy school? So then I always tell them that it's because of that I want to be in this position so that I can make
a difference.
Yeah, and school for students like me a better place.
Wow, wow, beautifully said. So, like you said exactly when we were growing up, and I think especially from the school point of view, academics had to be a priority. You have to get, probably distinction or the best marks. Like even if you'd get a 95, your teacher and everyone would say, no, you need to get better than that. Whereas on the other side, you said parents were really supportive, and you said also that, they were okay with you failing as well. Many times parents think that if you're not strict, so-called strict with your children, then they get, they go in the wrong directions, they don't take life seriously. And so how do you think, how has that sort of transcended for you as a mother and you as an educator as well? Because I'm sure you must be getting children families where parents come and say, no, you have to be strict, we are strict with him at school, so you need to be strict with him. So how do you really see that overall?
So for me, my childhood actually laid a foundation for how I am as a mother. And like I mentioned, that my parents were very, very supportive. My mom was the strict one.
Okay.
But then again, she was not strict in terms of me doing well in school or things like that. She was strict about manners and
discipline.
Manners. And also being kind to, others. Not only just others, like our support staff and drivers and watchmen. Like she really made sure that we respected everyone. And we were actually disciplined if she saw that we were disrespecting anyone, So it was, and then we were disciplined when we didn't say please and thank you. Right. And so it was things like that. So that has, like I said, it has laid a foundation for me as a mother. And I have been the same with my 3 children. It's been a struggle because my husband doesn't agree sometimes with the way I raise them, but somehow we have to find a balance, the two of us. But I have seen my children go through the similar journeys as the one that I went on, struggling in school or being bored or not interested. And but like my older daughter, she's now a teacher herself. She struggled through school, and now she also says that I want to be a teacher and make the children that I teach their lives better, because she says she was tortured in school. I don't know whether it really was, but so then, in the professional space, when I work very closely with teachers, I often tell them that, empathy, understanding goes a long way. Like where as teachers, we're just so busy trying to complete the curriculum, trying to make sure that the child completes the work or reads this or does this exam. But are we actually looking at why that particular child is struggling? What is the reason why that child didn't do that homework? So I think it, as a mother and as a professional in the education space, I have been trying to, practice the same.
Wonderful. I'm sure you're making a difference out there.
I hope
in lives of children, because I think it's one thing to say I was good at academics and I'm there, but you're talking about how, academics was okay, but I think the approach was different. And I think that's why you're here making a difference. And I'm sure it's the children today in your school are really happy about the difference that you're seeing. And it's beautiful how you said, your parents were strict about a few things and not strict. So it's not really about the performance and how much you scored, but it's the subtle life skills and the social skills that really they were particular about, being empathy, be it kindness or manners or, mutual respect. And I think these subtle things which are not really taught directly at school, but are of such high value and importance.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think something that where all of these topics I think are spoken about at school, one of the ways is, the life skills or the social emotional learning or the mental health curriculum at school per se. Where, whenever we speak to parents, they call it the free period or, the not so important period, because you're not going to be scored for it and it's not so important. But how do you think, because I think from what you just said, it is so important, I think probably more important than the math formulas and, the science equations and all of that. How do you think we can bring this in the forefront at schools and give it the due importance that it requires?
Yeah, so that's a wonderful question, because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, reading about a lot as well. So, I think that if we have it as another add-on, like the PT class or the library class or art class or whatever, then I don't think it's given as much importance.
Right.
And also, from the teacher's point of view, it also becomes like a burden to them. Like, oh, you're giving me one more thing to do, or, whatever. And parents don't look at it as important because there's no exam connected to it.
Yeah.
So I have been thinking that I feel like it's better if it is actually integrated into the school system, rather than, of course, we can have separate classes because we need to spend time on certain topics with the kids. But, if social and emotional learning topics and life skills can be integrated into the school system, like, if every teacher can start off with 2 minutes of, something about kindness, or class teachers in their time in the morning when they're taking attendance, they can talk about it. So then it doesn't become just another thing, but it is actually part of the whole thing. So
even 2 mindful minutes of, maybe being with yourself, understanding how you're feeling. It's just something like.
And also maybe like you're talking about parents, like, when we have orientation with them, or even in our parent-teacher meetings when they come, we can, highlight the fact that, this is what we're doing as well. And your child has shown, he or she was kind to this person, so highlight also not only that he did well in maths, but he
scored this much in that.
But he's also a kind person in class, or, like that.
Beautiful. So you're saying we look at smaller ways how we can integrate it into school, where it's not like an add-on thing, but it's wholesome and it's a part of the whole school approach where all children are included and are part of this thing.
Yes.
Wonderful. I think another important aspect sometimes people talk is mental health is a privilege, or mental health care itself is a privilege for people who can afford the middle class or the upper middle class kind of a thing. But, for the marginalized communities, children from the lower socioeconomic background, where I think sometimes food, shelter, water itself, and even right to education, I think sometimes is missing, or, they have to fight for it. How do you think we can make mental health for all and sort of really bring it even in these schools where they come from low socioeconomic background? Because I think they need it too. I think they need it more sometimes.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so I can think of, one of our schools. It's right in the slum here in Bangalore.
Yeah.
And our organization, we're self-funded. So, we're always running on a budget. So, and counselors these days are also, they want a higher salary. Yeah. And so we haven't been able to find the right person, or rather a person to come and, help these students. Yeah. So after a lot of thought and brainstorming, we've actually tried to make our own teachers, aware.
Oh, very nice.
So they're not really counseling, because, sometimes it's they may not know what to do, and you can't play with children's lives as well. But at least give them the awareness that they need, lots of teacher training, because, at the end of the day, they are the frontline workers, no?
Yeah.
They are the ones that notice everything. I mean, I'm just there maybe once or twice a week, and I don't even know half those kids. So so we have been trying to raise awareness among the teachers, to pick up signs, and then what to do, and when to speak to parents, and keeping us in the loop as well if they feel, and then when it is required, we try to call in a professional. So it is a privilege, and it is something that not everyone can afford. And in that particular school, we're also trying to do sessions with the parents as well.
Oh, very
because
nice.
Many of them are struggling, and, single parenting, domestic abuse, or, struggling financially as well. So once a month, we try to bring up these topics with them as well. And we're also giving them simple, tips, as in, if you want a happy child, put them to bed early.
Honest,
Sleep is good for them. Things like that. So things
certain hygiene factors for mental health,
Yes,
kind of
yes.
thing. Lovely, lovely, beautiful. I think something that you told is very, very powerful. I think given that the number of psychologists that are there in India, I think clearly there's a gap in terms of what is the need to how many of them are available. So I think one of the great ways to reach out for more students, because I think a lot of children, about 60 to 70% of them start a mental illness before the age of 14. And it is very, very important for these things to be caught very early. And I think a very good point that you brought out is empowering the teacher with certain skills for early identification and building that capacity and mental health literacy for the teachers. How do you think, first of all, teachers are open to, don one more hat and pick up one more skill and say, okay, I'm going to get trained for this as well? How do you think is teachers' attitude and approach to the
So how
thing?
we've approached it is we've kind of given our teachers a safe space to talk about the challenges. So many times, we just sit together and, what are the challenges you're facing? And many times it's always the behavior of kids, he or she's, I don't know, sleeping in class or doesn't come or bullying or, so many things. So we've helped them see that, behavior is a huge problem.
Right.
And I've also tried to help them understand that, if this child is not doing well in class, it's not because he's not studying, or it's not because he's not going for tuition or whatever is it, the usual mindset.
True.
It's
Or
because
he's lazy.
or lazy, yeah. Or a slow learner.
Stubborn,
They love using that term. He's a slow learner. So trying to-
Hyperactive also,
yeah,
their new
yes,
favorite word.
Yes. So helping them understand that, there are other issues. He's probably upset about seeing his parents fighting at home, or he's not able to concentrate because he's going to bed very late. So they are now, very interested. So it has come from them. So now,
Very nice.
yeah. So
Yeah,
now
yeah.
we have to deal with it.
Right.
So just lots of training. It's kind of maybe
It's
brainwash.
it's never ending, no? Because you have to keep upgrading them
Yes.
with how things are, and
And then they also, like, even if we do trainings in other topics, inevitably it always comes up that the kid's behavior or this or that. So it always gives us an opportunity to talk about these things. So now I don't think they look at it as another hat that they have to wear, but they're looking at it as a huge need.
Okay.
Because I think they have seen some success stories as well, when they
Wonderful.
paid attention to someone's problems or whatever. So,
Lovely.
yeah.
So if we have to sort of expand this out, because I think there was one research that was done in Rajasthan where less than 2% of the teachers showed, for the lack of a better word, decent level of awareness when it comes to mental health literacy. How do you think at a broader level, if we need to sort of implement this, where, teachers are equipped with, basic mental health first aid or first responders, for them to early identification, early intervention. It's not very uncommon that children have a panic attack on the school campus. So how do you think we can equip teachers better or train teachers better to sort of expand it out for?
I think that teacher training, professional development is the biggest thing. And also, see, organizations like you are coming into schools and, raising awareness. I have learned so much from you.
Learned it mutually.
And, so, and I think the general talk, like conversation should be about that. And
Yeah.
but I really think that it's just really workshops, teacher training, professional development. And it's very nice to see that, all these boards of education are now introducing it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's becoming mandatory for, like, we can do that in our schools and they will come and sit and listen because they have to.
Yeah.
But then, now that the boards of education are also insisting on it, it's
So, so Great. I think two points I think as a takeaway from what you mentioned is one is Board of Education introducing this. So, when it's coming from the board, there's
Yes.
a larger acceptance from the schools, I would say. And second would be, I think, again, from what you're saying, very subtly you did mention that it also has to just become a way of life at
Yes,
the school where,
absolutely.
teachers have to be trained and they have to be given a safe space where they're able to openly
Yes.
talk about it. I think
Yes.
that also becomes so
Yes.
important. And I think for a teacher, when they are teaching, if their mind space is not in the right place, I think somewhere the quality of education that they're imparting as an educator also, I think, sort of
Yes.
then becomes questionable.
Yeah, as leaders, I think also going back to what you were talking about, how can, we make this normal among teachers? As leaders, I think we need to also, we're always monitoring teachers.
Yeah.
But I think we need to start mentoring them also.
Beautiful.
To help them see these things,
Yeah.
help them see the challenges. So it's not about completing their lesson plan. It's not only about, that's also important. It's not only about the lesson plan or completing the portions or, whatever, keeping your classroom clean or quiet or whatever. But, mentoring them in terms of, showing empathy, having a listening ear, not always, breathing down kids' necks.
Yeah.
So I think we leaders also have a huge part to play.
Absolutely. And I think clearly teachers, there's enough research to show that the burnout that teachers go through, the stress, and again, I think it's higher in women teachers because I think they're carrying a lot of burden from home to what they're doing it at school, especially in the Indian context.
Yeah.
So how do you think, or what do you think we can do together to sort of reduce the teacher burnout, so that, because I think their mental health also is so important, which needs to be taken care for them to take care of.
Absolutely.
The
it just
children.
makes me think of that very the saying, you can't fill from an empty cup.
Correct.
So
Yes. Yeah.
we recognize during COVID especially that that's when I think everything so everyone went through something. So at that time, even though we were meeting teachers online and stuff, we tried to do fun things with them. So luckily, I mean, not only me, just, in general, the leadership team at ACTS recognized that teachers really need help. And so from then onwards, we have been really, really, really trying. So in all our schools, we have something called teacher wellness.
Okay.
And we make sure, like most of our school leaders really get so irritated every time we say, have you done this activity? Have you done that? But helping them also understand that teachers need to just let their hair down once. I mean, I understand if I was that principal sitting on the seat, like, you're responsible for so many things.
True.
How can I just dedicate one day to teachers just having fun? Like, what will the parents say? I understand from their point of view, but we really need to again normalize the whole thing. Teachers need to have fun. So we've been, we do potlucks, and we sometimes just have a day of games. We've done movie, and we like me and my team that manage these schools, we have come up with a schedule just to make it easier for the school leaders to implement, because again, they all really have a lot on their plates. So I don't want them to have to think of another thing and then it becomes like something mundane. So we send them reminders. So we make sure that every month something is going on for the teachers.
So I think something planned and scheduled as a downtime for the teachers that helps them unwind, and there are different types of activities so that it doesn't feel monotonous.
Even our teacher training workshops that we do with them, we make sure that there are a lot of games in between. So it's not so like we're talking about serious things, but they're also having fun. So they look forward to these sessions as well.
Learning and fun at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Lovely. How do you think, how open are parents when it comes to, your child has been sent to the counselor, or, there's a mental health curriculum at school where, they're learning about life skills and social emotional learning. How do you think how has parents' attitude been towards the whole thing?
I think
What's
there's
your
still a
experience?
stigma attached to it. and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to. I mean, I have 3 kids, and I don't think any of my kids have seen a counselor. But when I think back and see that, if my child had to go and see a counselor, even with all my very open upbringing and whatever, I would also still be thinking, oh my gosh, what would my friends say, or what would,
Correct.
like, is there something wrong? So I can imagine, even with so much awareness and exposure, if I'm thinking like this, how difficult it must be for other parents. So I think there's a huge stigma still attached, which is why I feel it is so important that we normalize the whole thing. So, like I go back to, we need to just keep having conversations about this. So even when we meet parents, just it doesn't have to be a formal thing. Even casually, just talking about these things and the challenges and help them know. And we don't necessarily have to talk about their child. We can just say, in general, kids are really struggling these days. And
I remember, there was this child who said, I had an experience of bullying at school. And they went and spoke to the parents, and the parents said, oh, bullying, it's a part of growing up. We've all been through it, so you also have to go through it, and it's okay. And poor thing, the child was really struggling to go through that. And, and then, the child is helpless, they said. So it's so important to normalize mental health conversations and getting help rather than these experiences.
Correct. Yeah.
Have you had any such experiences or encounters with parents where, they're in denial and they're refusing to accept?
See, the only thing that I can think of right now are parents saying, just hit my child, then it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's okay, you can beat. And we explain, no, we can't. And we say, no, that's the only way. That's the only way. So that's the only thing that I can think of.
Coming to that point, corporal punishment. Where I think earlier it was normal to hit, and I think only when you hit is the child going to be, tamed. I don't know if tamed is the right word, but, brought up in the right way. So, what is your take on that today?
Oh, I mean, I was also hit as a child in school. I hated it. And
the knuckles and the skin.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, put your hand out and I don't think that's the way to go.
Yes.
And I know that every teacher, even today, says, ma'am, it's because we cannot discipline them. That's why they are struggling. And I often tell them there are other ways of disciplining, and no one's asking you to be, this very cool and, teacher who's accepting everything.
Correct.
You can be very, very strict and stern without raising your hand.
Absolutely.
And I think it's up to us as educators to find that balance. Yeah. Which is why I love working with young kids, because then you don't have to find that balance. Because, in general, I just want to have fun, and with younger kids, you can do that.
Yeah, true.
But it is a huge challenge for many, many teachers, and many young teachers also are struggling, with that.
Yeah. So they say that, when a child is misbehaving, like you mentioned earlier, there's a reason behind why they're misbehaving. So I think sometimes it's important to understand that. And sometimes these corporal punishment, be it by parents or teachers, because a lot of teacher videos also are coming up where children are being hit at school.
So many
videos, and then it's so disheartening to see them. So when a child has been hit, I think the focus more is on being hit, and it actually hits the child's self-esteem and confidence rather than focusing on improving the behavior itself. So I think it's so important that we move beyond the corporal punishment and look at ways to try and talk to the child, understand them from their point of view of how they've looked at things and how we can work on it together, as a collaboration.
Yes. Agree. Totally agree. I mean, I know that my self-esteem suffered, because hitting was not such a big thing. Just that, you didn't do well in your exams, or why didn't you do it? And so for the longest time, even through college and wherever I went, I always felt like, I was not the brainy one. Not that I'm brainy now, but you just think that, okay, I'm not
good enough.
I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm good at sports. I can sing well. Yeah. But when it comes to studies and so it really, I think it would only be in the last 10 years or so that I can actually say, okay,
I'm not that.
I'm not that bad. I mean, I do have some good thoughts. I can do well, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's a very important message somewhere. I think all the children and adolescents also need to know. But I think, like you said, it comes so much more later in life that you feel you've already lost a lot of time. How do you think we can sort of ensure we bring that messaging very early?
So I make sure I talk about myself a lot. Like, you know, it sounds like I'm bragging or whatever, but I talk about all the bad things that I went through. Not that, I mean, they're not even half as bad as what people go through. But, you know, just to give the example that, you know, here I am today. I'm smiling, I'm successful and whatever. And you can be the same. So I make sure that I talk about it.
So beautifully said. So it is the narratives that nurture your own
Yes,
being, and
absolutely.
your narratives that would nurture the younger children and sort of help them in the whole their own journey, you know, because they're learning from the narratives.
Yeah.
Excellent. Wonderful. So the next thing I think I want to understand from you is how do we make schools an inclusive environment, which is not only for the neurotypical children, so to say, but, you know, where we're able to have schools where you have children from all spectrums, you know, the neurodivergent, the neurotypical. How do we make schools inclusive today?
So, you know, my first experience with inclusion was when I first started teaching at the age of 22 or 23 or whatever. And imagine, like, you know, when I was thinking about it, I couldn't believe that it actually happened then. But after I didn't see it again. So anyway,
That was more than 2.5 decades ago.
Yeah.
You started. Lovely.
So I was a Montessori trained teacher and working in one of the top Montessori schools here in Koramangala. And in my class, so because I was new, I was kind of, you know, shadowing an experienced teacher. And there was a visually impaired girl in our class. And she was just part of everything. Like, there was one teacher who was always with her just to help her. But, you know, in general, she was most of the time on her own, part of the activities, interacting with the other students. So that was my first experience, seeing like a different child being part of, you know, a regular classroom. After that, I didn't see much of it. And then, you know, there was talks about, you know, first of all, special education became a thing. And then that's when I got interested and I did my training. And I was working in a school and they had these pull-out classes. So, you know, so I don't know if that's inclusion, but these kids were in school, but they were not, they just had, you know, mild learning disabilities. So, I don't know.
Like a remedial class.
Yes. So if they were struggling in a particular class, that child was pulled out of that class and we would, you know, see how that child needed help. You know, sometimes it was backtracking and going back to foundational skills or whatever. So I don't know how I'm answering your question, but in general, I'm just talking about how I have seen inclusion slowly come into the scene. And then I happened to come across this course and then I did my master's in special and inclusive education.
Lovely.
And it was through the University of Northampton. So, you know, it was really, really eye-opening. We had to start off by, you know, making a policy of inclusion for our schools and, you know, things like that. So that really opened my mind and, you know, it made you realize that it just has to be part and parcel, like how we were talking about mental health. This also should be there. And now, again, the boards of education are also recognizing that. And they are insisting that all schools have to be inclusive schools. So, over the past 2 years, one of our main schools, the schools that I work with, we are an inclusive school. So we have some neurodivergent school kids in the class. They come, so that we try to make sure that they're a part of everything. So there are one or two of them that just come for a few hours a day and leave. So they may not be able to handle everything, but they can handle a bit.
Yeah, it cannot be so structured for them. It'll have to be a bit flexible for them.
So more than, you know, I like to look at it as this way, more than them being integrated into the system, by them being integrated into the system, the other kids who are normal, I mean, I don't know who's normal anymore, actually, to be honest. But, the regular kids, I think they are learning a lot in the bargain.
True.
They're learning to be empathetic. They're learning to be tolerant and understanding. So I think this whole thing is a huge learning experience for everyone.
I think the beauty of that is coexisting. It's not only for the neurodivergent children, but like you rightly said, the neurotypical children.
Yeah.
For them to understand, there are children like this, and how do you deal with them, or how do you negotiate with them, and help them through and be empathetic towards them.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But it's difficult, I must add, because teachers, they say, oh, this child was disrupting the class the whole time, and, I don't know how to do this. So, again, it's about raising awareness, about giving teachers strategies, talking to parents, that your child might be in a class where there is a, differently abled child also there.
True.
It's just, again, about having conversations. I think it's very similar to mental health.
Correct.
It's about normalizing it, about having conversations and changing the narrative.
Lovely. So what would it be that, you studied and you learned while you went to Northampton for your master's that we can bring to India that you think has to be executed at a larger scale, in which more and more schools become an inclusive environment?
I think it's just what I just said. It's about raising awareness. That's all. Yeah. Okay. And, we also learned about making our schools physically inclusive as well,
Absolutely.
Most of the time we talk about just integrating them into the classroom and differentiated learning and changing the lessons for these kids. But it's also how accessible is the learning, how accessible are the toilets, and, going up and down. There is so much. But then again, I think it all starts at the leadership level. We need to start talking about it more. We need to be more accepting. We need to be more tolerant. And, I think even when inquiries come into school, when parents come and, about admissions and all, I think even then we can talk about inclusivity. Because, I think just grabbing every opportunity to be able to speak about it. And also, I think showing parents that, being inclusive doesn't have to be only in school, but there are workplaces now. So giving them the hope that, their child could. So I think, to answer your question, I think it's just conversations. It's just talking about it. And of course, school policies, but that parents don't see. Correct. But I think, maybe even in your annual days or in your prize distributions, bringing those aspects in as well, so that everyone sees that you're being inclusive.
I think many schools, because when parents come to our child development center and we have conversations, some of them say, some schools claim to be inclusive, but, then again, in that they have their own criteria. Okay, this one and that one. So I think very important one, I think, is an intent. And two is to be able to implement it as well, right? And I think, like you rightly said, it's a whole ecosystem. So not only your children have to be made aware, the students, then the teachers have to be made aware, then the school authorities.
Yes.
Because it's a buy-in of the whole system.
Absolutely.
And it's wonderful of how important it is for the whole ecosystem to come together to make sure that it is an inclusive environment.
Yes. And parents as well.
Yes. And I think sometimes I feel more than anyone in the whole system, parents of the neurotypical children, I think, have more issues because, some of them talk to us and they say, oh, my child goes to the school and there's this child with autism in the class. And they have a problem. In fact, that child has beautifully blended in the system and they understand what is autism and how to work with a child with autism, show empathy. But the parent feels... I don't know if they think it's contagious or what, I'm not sure, but I feel it's those parents who sometimes really make it more difficult.
Yes, I think again it's a lack of awareness. So I think in our parent orientations, in our parent-teacher meetings, we need to really start talking about these things, showing them maybe the different kinds of, we can talk about autism and say, it's not contagious and...
True.
And, I think I really think it all boils down to talking about
awareness
it
and conversations around it. Wonderful. Lovely. So how do you think, coming back to a point, I think, where we boil down to say that it's the conversation and communication that helps to reduce the stigma, improve the awareness, to create school spaces which are a lot more inclusive and mentally healthy. How and what do you think should, again, the whole ecosystem of parents, teachers, school educators, and students, how do you think we all should sort of collaborate to create more mentally healthy schools and inclusive schools?
So I would say from a management perspective, since that's the role I'm in right now, if you're hiring a school leader, for example,
Yeah.
I think since it all stems from there, I think you need to make sure that the person that you are hiring is aware, is empathetic, is going to show, that inclusion, because it has to be, it starts from there. So I think that's one way. If you're in a position to hire, make sure that you hire the right people. I think lots and lots of workshops and professional development opportunities. So another thing that we have started is newsletters as well for parents and for teachers. So we try to incorporate things about mental health and inclusion in those newsletters as well. So, again, I keep using this word, but it's about normalizing it.
Normalizing it, yeah. So looking at different avenues in which we're able to communicate.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the right people, the right training, and then the right messaging, I think will sort of...
Yeah, and the exposure for kids as well. So, the ICSE have these SUPW projects.
Yeah.
So they can do it in a special school or in a, whatever. So they also develop empathy. And, for like recently for that World Sign Language Day or something, I forget exactly what it is. A team came in and taught our kids sign language, even though they don't really need it. But, raising awareness like that, talking about different things.
Lovely. Right. You've been an educator and you've taken inspiration from your family. For the young educators today and for children who are looking at becoming educators of tomorrow, what message would you have for them to create, mentally healthy and inclusive schools, and for themselves as educators?
So speaking from experience, I would say that no amount of training or preparation will prepare you for the classroom. And I must say that, the role of teaching has evolved over the years.
Yes.
Like, it was easier for me as a young educator because things were not so difficult.
Correct.
But now I see teachers struggling so much with the students. So I think we need to move away from, of course, you're a teacher and you're teaching, but you're also, you're dealing with so many behaviors in the classroom.
Yeah.
And each child is so different. Like, I remember when I was in school, we all seemed the same.
Yeah.
But now, like, when you see a classroom, whether it's an international school or an NGO or, wherever the school is, every child is going through something.
True.
There's so many challenges, big or small, but whatever it is, they're going through something. So I think you need to, I would say, if you're a new teacher going into it, you need to go in with an open mind.
Open mind, yeah.
And you need to have an attitude of learning because you're going to have to learn a lot.
True.
On the job.
Yeah. You evolve with the children, It's not only the children who are learning, actually it's you as educators also who are learning.
Teacher training, you learn some child psychology, you learn your subject and things like that. But you don't...
Hacks of classroom management also.
Yeah. So there's so much, and I think you need to be able to have an attitude of researching all the time,
Yes.
It's so teaching is like, I look at it as a 24-hour job. It does not end when the school bell
rings. Yeah,
it continues.
Yeah, it continues.
And it's a very, very hard job, and you're totally underpaid. I understand, but look at it that you're making an impact and you're molding that child's life.
True. True.
And you're making the world a better place.
Better place.
So I think it's just having an attitude of, okay, I'm not in this for the money, I'm not in this for the fame, but I'm in this to make the world a better place.
A better place. I
Yeah.
agree. Great. I think that brings me to a question where, I think while we've spoken generally of technology in the bad light, how do you think, the technological advancements, like, a very hilarious conversation I had with a principal the other day. Teachers prepare the question paper by feeding their syllabus to ChatGPT. The ChatGPT gives the question paper. Then they give it to the students. Students learn from ChatGPT, okay, saying this is the syllabus, what are the kind of questions that's going to come. ChatGPT teaches the child. This was a college teacher, of course, so college principal. And then the student writes the exam. Then the teacher uploads this on ChatGPT saying, are these answers correct? So at the end of it, who's learning, in the whole process? I mean, while there are these downsides, but I would say, I think a lot of interesting advancements also have happened of, information, curiosity being addressed at a very early point. So how do you think technology has changed the landscape of teaching and learning and this whole thing? What are your thoughts on that?
So there's a lot of talk going on about this. So many people have their own take on it. So I kind of resisted AI and ChatGPT for the longest time.
Verify on that.
And but my daughter, I always call her my very wise daughter. She's a teacher now, and she was telling me that ChatGPT can be a good tool for taking care of your mundane tasks.
True.
Which can free up your mind space for the important things. So when I thought about it, the teachers that I work with, many of them, English is not their first language.
Right.
And they struggle with technology. Yeah. And, sometimes the letters that they type and send in have grammar and, whatever it is. And they're spending so much time on that, that their actual teaching and their lesson plans are suffering.
Right.
So we started encouraging them to use it for, WhatsApp messages and because it gives a clear message. Right. The English is good and it's just taking a few minutes. Yeah. So it's freeing up their time to focus on the other things. So she changed my perspective on things. And the CEO of our company also, he was asking us, as a team, how are you making sure that AI is being used ethically? And our students using it, and how can we help them use it the right way?
The right way.
So we did a lot of research, and we came up with some strategies that we shared with our teachers. And one thing that I learned from that whole exercise is tell students it's okay to use ChatGPT, because in general for everything, like even when we were growing up, as soon as someone said don't do that, we did it.
We did it.
Okay. So if we're going to say no AI, no ChatGPT, they're going to use it anyway.
Yeah.
So let's acknowledge the fact that it's here and it's here to stay. So we tell our students, use it, but make it your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we've tried to help our students understand that ChatGPT and other AI platforms, whatever they're called, can be your brainstorming partner.
True. Yeah.
So, sometimes you're stuck, you can't think. So type it out on ChatGPT, it'll give you points.
Absolutely.
But don't just copy paste.
True.
Use those points.
As a tool.
Yeah, and make it your own.
Yeah.
So
keep it as a foundation maybe. Or
Yes.
something where you discuss, but then you develop your
Yes.
own on top of it,
Yeah.
rather than just taking
Absolutely. And give ChatGPT credit.
that. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
like how in your bibliography or whatever.
Absolutely. You're
just-
giving your due credit to...
So,
Yeah.
I think I've learned to accept it. I've learned to enjoy it as well. And I'm happy to see that our teachers are also, in a happier place, because again, I just go back to those WhatsApp messages. Sometimes they're like, you can't even understand what they're trying to say. And sometimes when you're sharing it on a parent group, it needs to be really, and then they're spending hours trying to, make it right. But now, it looks good, it sounds good.
True. Yeah.
So I think,
and politically right also, sometimes
absolutely,
it helps.
yes.
Yeah.
So, going back to teachers and how it has changed things for them, we have done a couple of workshops with them and lots of conversations as well. And use it as a tool to help you become a better teacher. One thing that I'm always asking teachers is, not asking, I tell them, in today's world, that child actually doesn't even need you.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, the child has YouTube, the child has ChatGPT, and the child is going to learn from there.
True.
So what is your role? So I help them think about what their role is.
Facilitator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So your role has completely changed.
Yeah.
And they don't need you.
True.
For knowledge.
Basic
anymore.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can get it anywhere.
Yeah. So what did they actually need you for?
True.
To guide you. I've been telling teachers to move from being a sage on the stage to a guide on the side.
Oh, lovely. How nice. Okay. Any message that you would like to give to our listeners today in terms of, what is it that they can do, or what is it that they can help themselves, or how they can help others?
Everything always goes back for me is, to be kind. You don't know what the other person is going through. Whether you're a teacher, you don't know what your children are going through. Yeah. So be kind to them. If you're a student, you don't know what your teacher is going through. So be kind to that person. Same way for parents and children and parents. So I think this world really needs a little
kindness from everyone.
Yeah. And especially here in Bangalore, we're only rushing.
Yeah, true.
And school students are also rushing, going through traffic early in the morning and reaching. It's difficult. So we're all going through something. So let's just be kind.
Be kind to others around you, and be kind to yourself.
And be kind to yourself. Very, very important.
Yeah.
Again, going back to young educators, I think they need to be kind to themselves.
Absolutely. Yes. Great. Wonderful. Thank you for a lovely conversation, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Neha. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
It has been truly entertaining. Thank you.